Hello, hello, hello. This is Sondra Louise, and life after the comma really does get better, y'all. Hey, I am on here today, this Labor Day. I don't know where you are in the world, but here in the United States, we are recognizing Labor Day. And today, I was thinking about some things, and I'm always thinking about something, but today I was thinking about the subject of bullies. Now, here, a lot of people went back to school last week, and some will be going back to school this week. And it doesn't matter whether, it's high school, elementary school, college, whatever. So, anyway, I was thinking about bullies. And the way that subject came up is that one of the influencers that I listen to, that I watch and follow, has been Sherilyn Dix, and she's an author, uh, accomplished author actually, and she had been doing pretty much, I say it was a challenge because she was talking about, if we don't have what we need, God, we know God is the source of everything that we need, but He has also given us the resources to obtain anything that we need. So if it's anything in our life that we have lack of, it's not because He hasn't supplied it, it's because we don't know where it is or how to obtain it. And so she had given this one story about, and this is the widow woman who was in great debt, and how the prophet asked her, "What's in your house? What do you have in your house?" And she said, "All I have is a little bit of oil." And he told her, he said, "Well, this is what you're going to do." He told her, he said, "Go out and borrow vessels. And you're going to pour the oil that you have into these vessels until all the vessels are full. And then you're going to pay off your debt and then live off the rest." Now, keep in mind, what she thought she had was just a little bit of oil. And yet they had borrowed all of these vessels, these huge pots, and filled them with oil. And it wasn't until they had they had filled up the last pot, and that's key here, the last pot, that the oil ran out. And she was able to do exactly what he told her to do: pay off her debt and live off the rest. So the question was, what do you have in your house? Well, I had written my books. I had done different things already that were, that I felt that God had told me to do. But one of the things that she said as a caveat is that there are some times where we're not doing everything. We may have done some things, but we're not doing everything that is needed for that to come to pass. So there was a challenge. There was a challenge. And I started thinking about, first of all, what keeps us from keeping up that momentum after we've been given instruction. And doesn't mean that we don't see some progress. It doesn't mean that we don't see some growth. But I'm thinking about the fact that the oil didn't stop until the vessels were all full that they had brought in. Had they brought in more vessels, the oil would have continued to flow. So it wasn't predicated on how much oil there was, but how many vessels she brought in order for them to be filled up. So, with that being said, I had done a lot of the work already, but was I doing all of the work? And if I wasn't doing all of the work, what was keeping me from it? And I started thinking about the bullies of fear. Now, fear can be in many different ways, and I'm telling you that that's a discussion for another day. But what it did, it caused me to think about something that happened when I was a kid. And I hadn't thought about this in a long time. And so I'm going to share this with you because some of you may relate, okay? So as some of you know, I grew up in Chicago, on the south side of Chicago. And as a kid, we lived in at one point, we lived in an apartment building. And we lived on the first floor of an apartment building. And that's going to be significant to this story. And a lot of us kids who lived on that block, we were used to playing together, we knew each other, and, we hung out together. But this particular summer, there was a girl visiting. I don't know if she was visiting her grandma or aunt, I don't know, but she was visiting. But this girl, I don't know, she just came with a chip on her shoulder, okay? And she would always come. We would all be playing, and then here she came bullying everybody. But in particular, she would bully me. And I didn't know, what it was. It was like, what did I do to this girl? But every time she would just kind of target me. So during the week, my dad was a truck driver, so he would be on the road. And so almost every day this particular week, I'm running in the house from this girl because she's bullying me, okay? And so this had been going on like almost every day. But this Saturday, my dad is at home. And we had been out there like we had been, and here she came. But this time I said, okay, I know what I'm going to do because my dad is here. I'm going to go tell my dad, and he's going to take care of her, okay? So I go in the house, and I talk to my dad. And I'm telling her about how every day, she's just coming and she's just messing with me. And every day this is happening. And I'm just going, because I'm knowing, my dad is going to take care of this. But my dad was cut from another cloth. And later, I can tell you I'm so glad he was. Because he lovingly listened to his daughter talk about this bully who had been bullying her every single day, making her life miserable. And after I got my rant out, my dad lovingly told me, kid, this is what you're going to do. You're going to go back out there, and if she bothers you, you're going to fight her. What? This is not the way this is supposed to go. And I'm like, what? He said, but this is the thing. He said, you see that window? We were in our living room. And in our apartment building, in our living room, our windows came out from where the door or the stoop of our building was. And so he could literally stand in that corner window and look right down at whatever's going on that stoop. He's that close and he's looking. So he said, I'm going to be standing right there in that window. And if I see that she's getting the best of you, I'm going to come out there. But you're going to go out there and fight her. If it comes to that, you're going to fight her. And if you don't, then I'm going to have to whip you myself. Now, understand, my dad was not the disciplinarian in our family. He just was not. It was my mom. And she had to be, because she's raising kids while her husband is on the road, so she couldn't take no stuff. So I'm used to getting whippings from her. Now my dad, he was a different breed. When I tell you he was cut from a different cloth, I could count the number of so-called spankings, whippings, whatever you want to call, on one hand. And they were not real whippings, believe me, they were not. He barely touched us at all. But it was the fear that was instilled in us before he actually was supposed to do it that got us every time. So to say that I'm going to go out here and I'm going to face my bully, this person who for the past week or so has been keeping me from enjoying my friends, enjoying my summer, enjoying at a time when I should be enjoying myself. Every time she shows up, I'm running in the house hiding. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to face her. And I'm going out here with the understanding that if by chance she's starting to get the best of me, I know that I'm going to be okay because my daddy is watching. So this time, I go out and I stand with my shoulders back and my head up. And I'm standing at that stoop in front of that door. And I didn't have to say anything because I already knew that she was going to come at me. I already knew it. But I also knew my daddy is watching. So I'm standing there. And sure enough, she comes up to me. And I don't even know what was said. But I do remember I told her, "You better not put your hands on me." I didn't say, "You better not put your hands on me." I said, "You better not put your hands on me." And she went on and she kept on, saying some stuff. But this time I wasn't in the defense. I was in an offensive posture. I was empowered, almost daring her to touch me. And I said it again. "You bet not put your hands on me." At that moment, I guess she was really feeling herself because she'd been talking up a storm, about what she's going to do and all of this and all of that. And I don't know if she might have just touched my shoulder or something like that. I don't even remember. All I know is that I went into full windmill, whatever. I think I had my eyes closed, so I don't even remember. But what I do remember is that at one point, I wasn't hitting nothing but wind. And she was running down the street. It wasn't me running back in the house. It was her running down the street back to when she came. I went back in the house. And my dad asked me, he said, "Kid, how do you feel?" And I must have told him something like, I felt good or something. I don't know what I said, but he told me, he said, "Now I'm going to tell you something." He said, "I could have gone out there and she would have left you alone. She would have left you alone all the time I was at home because she was afraid of me. She would have been afraid of me." He said, "But now she's afraid of you. And it doesn't matter whether I'm here or not. She won't bother you again." My dad was so wise. Because I know I never had a problem with her again. For the rest of that summer, I never had a problem with her again. Why am I telling you about this? Because in my life, I can tell that that same bully that was in her has been continuously operating in my life. See, keep in mind, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. Nope, it's not flesh and blood that we wrestle with, but principalities, powers, spiritual wickedness in high places. Those rulers of darkness in the spiritual realm. Those are the things that we wrestle with. The bully just changes shape and form, but it's the same bully. And until we identify it, keep in mind, we can't conquer what we don't confront, and we can't confront what we don't identify. The moment you identify the bullies that have been keeping you stagnant, the bullies that have caused you to have a drawback spirit when God has given you something. See, I was empowered by the words of my dad to go out there and face that bully. And I'm telling you that because I don't care what bully has been affecting your progress, affecting you from being all that God told you that you are. Whatever that bully, and it's going to take you identifying it. I can tell you this, the root of it is found in fear. And until you identify the way fear is showing up in your life, you're going to keep on going through the same